Welcome to the College Basketball Net Profit Show, Thursday, March 2nd. Ian Cameron, Conor Mack, ready to break down the Thursday card. We'll go through a few regular season games to begin, but the majority of the games we break down, because I'll be honest, I'm way more into the conference tournaments right now. Most of them will be conference tournament games. We've got a bunch of them tonight. So let's get into it. We will begin with the Big Ten, Michigan and Illinois. We've got the Illini 5-point home favorites, 144 the total in this game. Of course, Michigan is right on that, edge of the cliff, if you will, as far as the tournament is concerned. Every single game for them is a big one. I don't want to go against teams that have to win, but it doesn't necessarily mean you need to be backing the teams that have to win, because as we always say, must win doesn't equal will win. But I will say this about Michigan. They've won 3 straight and covered 3 straight against Michigan State, Rutgers, and Wisconsin. They catch Illinois, though, off a loss on the road at Ohio State, now returning home, where Illinois does have a pretty good home record this year overall, 14-2. I don't have a strong feel for this game. I actually kind of lean to the under in this game. I lean to Michigan with the points, but just because, again, they need the win with their tournament resume on the line doesn't mean they will win it. What do you think here in this one, C-Mac? Wolverines, Illini.
Yeah, I did take the under already, 144.5. I thought it was just a bit too high. And you know what? Michigan games, though, have been like just dead unders, like rock fights, or they've gone over, a few times. The Michigan State game, the last game with Wisconsin. But I think this game's tight, just how the big implications between, these two teams. They both need to win. You mentioned Michigan, 3 straight wins. I'd like to trust Illinois because I think they come out here and win, but I don't trust them. And they've owned Michigan, 5 straight wins against them. So I lean with them, but I'm on the under.
All right, liking the under here. Next up, we have Wichita State and Houston. The Cougars, 16.5 now point home favorites, 133.5 the total here in this one. Of course, the Houston Cougars on their home floor. This is senior night for them because they finished the regular season at Memphis over the weekend. So I'm a little leery about that. You've got some notable senior talent on this team, obviously. So, I expect a pretty raucous environment. But at the same point in time, this is a huge number. And Wichita has just been road machines lately, Conor Mack. I mean, they enter this game 5-0 straight up, 5-0 against the spread on the AAC road at SMU, at East Carolina, at Tulsa, at Temple, at Tulane. They win and they cover as on the road, and many of those games catching points. So this to me feels like it's a lot of points. And Wichita State, I took them the last time they were on the road. They got the job done the time before that as well. This is a lot of points. I get it. It's Houston's the better team. It's senior night, but I'm tempted by Wichita State. I think they're still worth a play here, getting 17, 16.5. And I'm right back to the well as also Conor Mack with Wichita over. This is one of the most remarkable streaks that I've seen in college basketball in a long time in terms of a team going over the total in consecutive games like this has been for Wichita State. It has now reached 13 consecutive games over the total for Wichita State. And maybe tonight's the night it ends, but we've been on a bunch of these, and we're basically playing with money that we've won on these overs game in and game out. So I'm back to it here. And clearly there's people that agree with me on the total because it's actually gone up a little bit to 135. What do you think here, Conor?
It seems like a ton of points. East Carolina just snuck in that cover, right? That last game against Houston, I think they were 20, lost by 19. They blew out Tulane. We mentioned that was a shitty matchup. They've played a little bit closer games at home. Houston's been more money on the road and covered bigger numbers. It is a lot. I'm not like gung-ho about it. And you mentioned the overs with Wichita. How do you want to jump off that now? So I lean them with the points and the over here.
All right, next up here, we've got UCF and Temple still in the AAC. Pick them here, price 134.5 being the total. In this one, we've got the Temple Owls. I think Temple's probably sitting in a pretty good spot. It's their home finale. They're off a tough loss on the road at Cincinnati, but they won their last road game against Tulsa. They lost to Wichita at home, but as we said, Wichita has been very good here down the stretch in the regular season. I think Temple can probably win this game on their home floor. UCF, do we trust them? They beat down a very bad Tulsa team, but prior to that, this is a team that had lost 3 consecutive games. And really, if you look at it, their only quality win was on the road at Wichita State for UCF, and that was back in early February. Since then, they've only beaten Tulsa twice, which isn't really saying a whole lot. So I like Temple here just to win the game, straight up pick 'em situation. I know they've been banged up a little bit, and it looks like Battle is still questionable. He's missed the last 2 games dealing with a personal matter. We'll see if Khalif Battle's able to return for them tonight. Jaleel White's also questionable with an ankle, but from what I'm reading, they might be able to suit up tonight for this Owls team, which will make it a better spot for them. So I do like this Temple side. I probably would have to lean over here because we've got not so much the Wichita case of a team trending over, but pretty close with Temple. They've all of a sudden gone 7-1 to the over in their last 8. So it'll be Temple and the over for me in this game. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, I'll be quick here. It's just the over. This is too low of a total, I think. With these two teams, they like at this number, 133.5. I think you gotta take the over. I don't really want the side here in this one. Temple's been good. They've been bad. I don't know when they're going to show up. I think UCF's played a little bit better after the horrible lull they had middle of the year where they lost 5 in a row. So off the side, give me the over.
Arizona State, UCLA. We've got UCLA laying double digits, 133.5 the total in this game. Arizona, I'm telling you what, I mean, I'm not really in a rush to step in front of UCLA, and they do have Arizona coming up this weekend. Doesn't it feel like this may be a look-ahead spot? But and Arizona State, look, that was impressive, the way they dug down deep. They were down the whole game, and they came back in the last few minutes to beat Arizona, 89-88, a buzzer beater at the end. What an incredible finish for the Sun Devils to pull the upset over the Wildcats on Saturday afternoon. But now, are they in a letdown after that big win against their in-state rival? We'll have to see. I mean, there's too many factors really both ways, on or against these teams. But UCLA has been very good. They're on an incredible win streak, 8 straight wins for them. I mean, I need a good reason to go against them. And I don't know if Arizona State's the team I trust. Not only that, but Arizona State hasn't matched up well with UCLA. The last 2 meetings were 12 and 14-point victories for the Bruins. So I'm off this game. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I don't know if I can take the Sun Devils. The huge win, the comeback. It seems like a ton of points, you know. UCLA, though, just been really, really good at home. This does seem like a sleepy spot, though, for them. And I think this UCLA team, but though another win, I think they're number 1 seed for sure. You know, depending on what Purdue does tonight, which is a big game because I think they're a 2 now. UCLA wins, but I don't know if they cover in this game. And I'd lean under a little bit. UCLA's defense just been suffocating. They don't play fast. I know Arizona State could maybe get up and down and play an over, but I'd look under here.
All right, Memphis and SMU. We've got Memphis 6-point road favorites, 153.5 the total. Memphis has definitely seen their play pick up a little bit down the stretch. Of course, it looks like, by the way, Kendrick Davis, we know he's been nicked up. Looks like he's a go tonight for Memphis. That would be obviously huge for them. But they have won 5 of their last 6 games, so they've played better basketball. SMU on the flip side, you know, not a good season at all for the Mustangs. 10-19. Their defense has been non-existent. Look at these point totals they've allowed: 99, 80, 74, 77, 91, 80, 71. Actually, their defense the last couple games has been a little bit better, but when they played at Memphis earlier this season, it flew over the total, and they gave up 99 points. 99-84 was the final score. That's what I'm on here. Just Memphis should win, could cover. Wouldn't surprise me. I lean to that side, but the over's the way to go. That's the best look here in this game, over 153.5. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, 150s, but I'm not rushing to an under or hoping for one. I think it's over, nothing. I'm not going to be involved. Penny Hardaway, it just seems like they could slip up here. I think they win. They just need to win. I really don't want to lay points with them. SMU just hasn't been good all year long. Their defense isn't very good. They've played a little bit better at home. So, yeah, I'm not going to take SMU, so I'm off the side.
Yeah, if you believe in that former player playing against his old team, betting angle, we mentioned it on the NBA show quite a bit, and it can often be pretty profitable. I think many books might have some player props. There are player props now you can bet in college basketball. Kendrick Davis over 21.5 points tonight. Wouldn't shock me. You know, want to prove a point here against his former team. So yeah, I could. That might be a prop that's worth looking at here in this game tonight. All right, we've got Arizona, USC. in the Pac-12. This is a good matchup here late. Around to pick 'em here in this game with Arizona slight road favorites in this matchup. And the total here currently for this game sitting at around 153 in this game. You look at this matchup here with Arizona. I like the spot for Arizona. They got, a little slap in the face, a little splash of cold water on their face that collapsed down the stretch against Arizona State. I think it's probably a wake-up call for them. I think they're better than USC. So I like Arizona a little bit here. Not going crazy because, again, you got to go to USC. You've got the big matchup with UCLA on deck for Arizona this weekend as well. But I think there's no looking past USC after what happened to the Wildcats last weekend. And they've been pretty good off a loss this year. So I like Arizona, small road favorite. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, they're off that loss. If they win that, maybe this is, and they've owned SC. Like
Yes.
I really want to look to maybe take the Trojans because I think inside they could battle with them, but it hasn't been a good matchup. And maybe I think the Arizona's kind of back to playing a little more loose. They've had a little over because I thought this total was a little high. So I lean under a little bit, here at 155.
A little high, and I think the focus is gonna be, hey, after letting the lead slip against ASU, them to tighten it up again here tonight.
Tighten up the defense, yeah.
Exactly right. All right, next up we've got actually conference tournaments. Next up, we got the rest of the games we're going to talk about here in this first segment. Conference tournaments. We go to the Sun Belt. It's Texas State and Old Dominion. Sun Belt tournament action. Old Dominion 4-point home favorites, 129.5 the total. I lean to Old Dominion, but I'll tell you what I did. I actually did a 2-team parlay, money line parlay with Old Dominion and another team that we're going to talk about in just a second rather than laying the points because I could see them winning by like up 2 points or 3 points, not covering. And you always worried about that in conference tournament play, but I still like Old Dominion here. They played great basketball down the stretch, and they were starting to really play much better than they did early in the season. Their offense started to come to life a bit, still play pretty good defense. And I just think they're right now better than Texas State. So I like Old Dominion here, but I played them in a money line parlay. I lean to them, though, with the -4 as well. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, that's why I couldn't take them. I didn't want to lay now 4.5. Still 3.5 if you got that under 4. They just played close games. They're not a team I really want to lay points. Now, they're better than Texas State, and they've played well towards the end of the year. I think they won the last 5 of 6. I know they just beat Marshall.
Some good wins, too. Marshall, Southern Miss, good teams in this conference they beat.
Yeah, so first 2 games already. Well, depending on where you got the game, low scoring, both those games, the under. Does this one stay under? We mentioned it. The Texas State game went over the other day again. Babano flew over, but Old Dominion slow. I don't know about the total. This could stay under or get over. I'm off.
All right, we've got UL Monroe, Georgia Southern, the other Sun Belt game taking place tonight, second round matchup. Georgia Southern, 5-point home favorites, 130.5 the total. This is the other leg of that parlay. Georgia Southern, Old Dominion, money line parlay for me, which is a plus price actually, plus 125, turning that into a money line parlay. Again, I think they win this game, but I'm not totally comfortable in laying the 5 points there in Pensacola. On the neutral floor in Florida down there. But I do think this Georgia Southern team, which is, again, pretty solid on the defensive end. Monroe can really struggle to put the ball in the basket, and I think that's going to be trouble. They are decent defensively, so that's exactly why, I think the money line parlay is the best option because I could see Georgia Southern in a tight victory. I think they could cover very well, but I just don't want to take that chance. So I have Georgia Southern parlayed with Old Dominion to win the game at plus money. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I don't blame you for taking because I want nothing with this. Monroe can have a crazy win and show up out of nowhere, or a close loss, or they just get blown out. This team is not good, inconsistent. So not wanting to lay the points. I get it because to me, Georgia Southern's a better team, and if I had a free bet, I would lay it. I just don't trust Georgia Southern that great. Pretty good at home, but yeah.
I don't blame you. All right, let's go to Arch Madness. In St. Louis, Missouri Valley Conference, first round. There were 2 games this afternoon. There's 2 more tonight, starting with Valpo and Murray State. We've got Murray State 1-point home favorites, 141.5 the total. I'm taking Valpo on a neutral court because I trust them to play some defense. I've been so disappointed defensively with Murray State. Man, if they had some horrible games defensively, just absolutely terrible. And I can't lay points on a neutral floor in a conference tournament with a team that I can't trust at that end of the court. So I like Valpo here. And you mentioned how I don't trust their defense. That's also why I like the over here. Now, I know this venue and this conference tournament historically is a strong under tournament. I get it.
Yeah.
But we saw sneaking over the total Illinois State, Northern Iowa earlier today. The last I checked, this Evansville game that's going on as we're doing this show live, it's possibly going to go over the total. I mean, it's at 139 with 3 minutes left. All it needs is like 7 points or 8 points to go over the total.
Yeah,
So we might be looking at 2-0 to the over in these first two Missouri Valley tournament games. And again, I don't trust the Murray State defense. And Valpo plays, a little bit above average with their tempo. So at 140.5, 141, I like the over as well here. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, I think get over. I think just some of them, it took too big a hit. We talked about earlier, like the Northern Iowa game, it just went down 4.5 points, and it got over to the original line.
Because of the historical unders, that's why.
Oh, yeah. There have been some years where they've just been wild, crazy under. A couple of these years, the games are just dead unders, like 50s, 40s games, 60s, insane. Murray State 2.5, they've gone to 2. I'm not going to bet it, but I think it's Valpo as well. I can't trust Murray State. Where is the defense gone? This team's just falling apart. And I just don't love Valpo. I think they do have a couple of better players out of these two teams. So if I had to free bet, I'd take them and lean over.
All right. Next game up, UIC, Missouri State, Illinois, Chicago, Missouri State. Missouri State, 8.5-point home favorites, and the total down to 128 in this game here. Missouri State's offense, remember last year how good it was? It's been anything but that this year. It's been a much worse offensive team. Quite frankly, I think it's asking Missouri State's very erratic offense a lot to be laying 8 points. Both teams aren't going to run up and down the court. That's why the total is where it is. I think the points are worth a look here on the Flames, UIC. I think they keep this game competitive. I don't trust the Bears to score enough to cover numbers like this in a neutral environment. Now, I know St. Louis is obviously closer to a Missouri State than it is to the UIC campus, but it's not like it's going to be some kind of raucous atmosphere that it's just going to be impossible for UIC to operate in that big building. It's a hockey-sized venue, essentially. It's where the St. Louis Blues play. So I think UIC hangs in there. I just don't trust Missouri State's offense enough laying this kind of number. I like the Illinois-Chicago side, plus 8.5. What do you think here, Conor?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's not going to be raucous. We saw our guy on Twitter.
Luke,
right?
Luke was there. Yeah.
He's there, and it didn't look packed. And when you have these games, 4 games throughout the day, like you do here at the Thomas and Mack, with the Mountain West, some of the games nobody's there. I agree with the total move. I mean, it's coming down. I think it still stays under 128. I think it's just this is the under out of the 4 for me. And one thing, Missouri State, they covered a few numbers, usually at home. This team on the road or neutral, I don't want to lay points with them. And it's not that I'm crazy about Chicago here, but I take the points with them because I think it's a low-scoring game.
All right, next game is we turn to a new conference now, Horizon League tournament, Oakland and Northern Kentucky. We've got Northern Kentucky, the Norse, laying a pretty sizable number here. 8.5. It was actually 8.5. It's down to actually 6.5, 7 now. 134 the total. The betting markets are sniffing out the side that I like, and that's Oakland. Throw out the regular season. What do we know year in and year out in this conference is that somehow, some way, Greg Campy, who's coached this team forever, he leads Oakland on a little bit of a run in this tournament. It seems like it's every single year Oakland goes on this little bit of a run in the Horizon League tournament, and you don't even have to ask them to win this game. They're getting 7, in this matchup against Northern Kentucky. And this is, again, another situation where they're an excellent defensive team. They're actually probably the best defensive team in this Horizon League, Northern Kentucky. But scoring can sometimes be a little bit of a problem for them, and they've got to be able to do that here on a neutral court, if they're going to win this game. Actually, this is a home game, I should say. These Horizon League games are indeed true home games. But pressure of a conference tournament, Oakland with a propensity of doing well at conference tournament time. I like Oakland here, and I agree with the market move toward the Golden Grizzlies in this one. Oakland at plus 7. What do you think here in this one, C-Mac?
Yeah, I like Oakland too. Just like the other game we'll touch on here, I think Robert Morris is alive. as well, getting 7 against Cleveland State. Just too many. And what I liked a little bit more was the under in this one because Northern Kentucky got to lean on that defense. They don't score, like you mentioned. And Oakland's had to flip around. They were so bad and so bad defensively early on in the year. In conference play, they've gotten a little bit better. Close games, they've won some. So I think we got a close game tonight. So give me the points and look at that under.
All right, we stay in the horizon. Detroit, Youngstown State. We've got Youngstown State 9-point home favorites, 156.5 the total. It's another dog look for me. We talk about how Youngstown State kind of overvalued down the stretch. They weren't exactly automatic, especially in the bigger favorite role. And when you have a legitimate score, what you need in conference tournament time sometimes to pull upsets, you need a guy that can take over a game. Antoine Davis is the guy that can do that for Detroit. And he might actually be the best player on the court for either team. And sometimes
He'll
in the
shoot
conference
enough.
tournament,
He'll shoot it for sure.
he
Yeah.
definitely will. And, you get a guy like that get red hot. And we know this Penguins defense can sometimes come and go, Youngstown State. I think that could be a dangerous enough combination for Detroit to keep it within 9 points. And like I say, they don't even need to win. They have to have a bad shooting night, in my opinion, to really knock themselves out of this game because Youngstown's got a flighty up and down defense. Detroit can't score. Detroit one game defends and one game they don't, which also makes the total tricky. Pace-wise, you want to play it over because you're going to get both teams playing above average pace, but it is a high number, and sometimes you get both teams. One night they show up on D, one night they don't.
Yeah.
I definitely like Detroit. I have a smaller lean to the over as well. Connor, what do you think here?
It is a lot, with Youngstown. We've seen some of these numbers they've covered. It's like the defense comes, but I don't trust their defense, so I can't lay the number with them. And you mentioned it just takes one of these to not the offense not to be just crazy efficient, and this might stay under. Even though you think with the pace of these two, it might get there. I'll be off the total. Youngstown's team total is one thing that's cashed a ton regularly, so maybe you look at that if you don't want to lay the points with them.
Yeah, that's always an alternative option. Don't lay the points. You can take the team total over instead. Wright State, Milwaukee. We've got Wright State 2-point road favorites. Look at this total all the way up to 161. It's hard to argue with that. We're going to get to another game where there's a total in this same price range, but I still think you have to play it over or nothing. You should see a lot of points here in this game. But as far as the side goes, I don't know what it is about Wright State, but I thought, down the stretch, I know Wright State dominated them, the Raiders, and had definitely a good run of it. But to me, Wright State has some turnover problems. That's concerning. And look, Milwaukee's one of those teams that's capable of forcing turnovers as well. I think it could play well toward the UW Milwaukee side in this game. And I was actually a little surprised Wright State was favored on the road. I thought Milwaukee actually should have been a slight home favorite. Instead, Wright State's a slight road favorite. And Bart Torvik has this closer to Pick'em or Milwaukee, like a 0.5 point to 1 point home favorite. So to me, I think if I played Milwaukee based on that, I just think the value's on their side. I think it's probably a close game. And you could argue matchup-wise, Milwaukee might be able to do some things that get after Wright State. Again, those turnover issues for the Raiders have been an issue lately. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, and this is a total that's moving up. I mean, does it get there though? 161.5. They lost at home to him by 1 point, 80-79. I think they beat him this time. You can take the two here with Wisconsin Milwaukee, but I think they just win outright. I just don't know if it gets over this, 162 now.
All right, the last of the Horizon League tournament games tonight, Robert Morris and Cleveland State. Right now, Cleveland State 6.5 point home favorites, 134.5 the total in this one. Robert Morris, of course, they enter this game thanks to a victory that they had in the first game last night or a couple nights ago, beating IUPUI 67-64. Cleveland State, they had won 5 straight but lost to Milwaukee 81-72 in the game before that. I'll tell you what, laying bigger numbers, this Cleveland team. Here's Cleveland laying 6.5 or more of late. 17-point favorites against IUPUI failed to cover. Robert Morris, they were laying 6 just a few weeks ago at home. They only won by 2. They were 13-point favorites against Green Bay, the worst team in the conference. They didn't cover. They've been bad as bigger favorites. They have not been trustworthy as bigger favorites. It's dog or pass for me. I would look at Bobby Moe if I'm going to bet a side here. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I touched on it. This is Bob Morris here for me or nothing. I can't lay points with Cleveland State. They might be a little bit better, but I don't know about 7 points.
Yeah.
Here I have to take Robert Morris. Total's interesting. I think it's about right. Cleveland State for so long was slow under, but they started to play some overs towards the end of the year. And Robert Morris kind of goes with which team they're playing, whether he'll stay under or over. So I'll stay off the total.
All right, Southeast Missouri State, and we go to the Ohio Valley next up, quarterfinal action. Southeast Missouri State, Tennessee State. SEMO 1-point road favorites, 159 the total in this game. I mean, this is another one where you just wish the total was a little lower, but you're going to get pace. And this has been a conference I've really cashed in with overs. I like the over in the second game in this conference that we'll get to in a second a little bit more than this one. But certainly I think both teams should be able to score their share of points. But, man, it's tough. Not easy to go over a total this high, but I'd lean that way. As far as the side goes, I know they're betting SEMO here, but I lean Tennessee State. I get it that SEMO played last night. Maybe there's a little advantage in that they know the surroundings a little bit familiar. They got a game under their belt, but I still think Tennessee State's a little bit better basketball team. And now that they're a little surprised, at least, not like shocked, but a little surprised that now that Tennessee State's the slight dog in this game. So Tennessee State would be the way I would go in this one. What do you think, Connor?
I think this is a total coin flip in this game. But I agree with you. If I had free play here, I'd take Tennessee State. I think they're just a little bit better. But I won't be betting it. And we got a high total. I'm not going to mess with it.
All right, SIU, Edwardsville, and UT Martin. I am going to mess with this total. They're betting this one down. That I don't agree with. UT Martin's been just this ridiculous over team for me, especially. They're 2-point dogs against Edwardsville, 150 the total. I like Martin a little bit here. Martin was expected to be a team that was supposed to be, one of the better teams in the Ohio Valley coming into the season, and they didn't always play like it. And they lost 2 at the end of the season. Edwardsville, though, I mean, they beat up Southern Indiana, but they don't play much defense, and they had their way in that one. I'm not sure here if they're going to have that same level of success. Like I said, UT Martin, 7-2 to the over in their last 9 games. The Edwardsville game, they had been trending over, but it stayed under with Southern Indiana last night. I don't think it's going to stay under tonight. You look at the 2 head-to-head meetings, both of them got to 160 or higher, and this total is only at 150. So I like over 150. I like this over a lot more than the last game we talked about. And I like UT Martin, +2. I'm going to buy low on UT Martin. I'm going to say maybe they win this game, and maybe they get on a little bit of a, you're always going to get in these lower mid-major conference tournaments, you're going to have examples of teams that are lower seeds, and they just catch fire out of nowhere. Red hot, they turn it on, they win multiple games in a row and steal a bid in the conference. I'm not saying Martin will go all the way and win this conference tournament, but they have the talent to at least win a couple games and go on a bit of a run starting tonight. I like UT Martin here. I especially like that they're a dog because I think talent-wise, roster-wise, I would have made them the favorite because I think they actually have a little bit better roster than Edwardsville, but they've been too up and down throughout the season that we've got them as a dog here, and I think it's good value on UT Martin here. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, and it seems like the end of the year, the 2 wins there, and they got the 2 losses. Like this would have just been flipped, like you just talked about. So I think it's a free couple points. To me, it's UT Martin or nothing.
Yep, UT Martin for me there as well, and the over. All right, next up, we go to the West Coast Conference. You'll be up for these games, Connor Mack. These are going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific and 8:30 p.m. Pacific. Late night action in the West Coast Conference first round. San Diego and Portland. Portland 5-point home favorites, 157.5 the total. Poor Steve Lavin, his team is besieged by injuries right now. They're very shorthanded. They've been decimated. They've been trying their best to play through it. And I'll be honest, for them to actually be in a situation where they're 11-19 with all the injuries, it's been admirable, but it's just eating away at this team. They got destroyed by Santa Clara and Gonzaga in their last 2 games. They missed badly. Eric Williams Jr., Jaden Dallaire. They've been 2 massive impact injuries for the Toreros. I understand why the money's come in on Portland because San Diego's hard to back right now. But do you want to lay 5 with Portland is the question because they've lost 4 in a row coming into this. I still think they're capable of winning this game just because I think they're still the better team, the healthier team. They've dominated San Diego as well. 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread for the Pilots over the Toreros. I'm not as comfortable now laying up to 5.5. So This is another one of those 2-team money line parlay deals for me. Portland, and I'm parlaying them with another game, which we'll get to. What do you think here, Connor? San Diego, Portland.
I know it's moved to 5.5. I think Portland's better, just how you went through San Diego, but they're not a team. It's been months that I've even wanted to back them and the late points, and now at 5.5, I can't do it. And we'll see here at the Orleans. This number's come down 3 points. I still think there's points. I just don't know if it gets over the number.
Second game on the West Coast Conference tournament. Of course, this tournament every single year is at the Orleans Arena in Las Vegas, and this year it's no different. Pepperdine and Pacific. Pepperdine, 2.5-point road favorites, 161.5 the total in this game. What I just said about San Diego, you can say the same thing pretty much about Pacific. I mean, it's just a team that they've fallen on hard times down the stretch because of some injuries. They had lost 5 of their last 6 games. I was actually surprised they beat Portland in their last game because they had obviously some struggles and some guys out of the lineup before that. But I don't know if they're going to be able to beat. The one thing about Pepperdine is they've been absolutely horrendous defensively, which is why we've been on the over in every Pepperdine game. But we've seen them cover some numbers. They've had a tough schedule down the stretch, and that's why they've lost. I mean, they played BYU, San Francisco, Gonzaga, Santa Clara, and Loyola Marymount. It doesn't get tougher than that for Pepperdine. They played all the best teams in the conference. So this is actually a step down for them, starting the West Coast Conference tournament, playing Pacific. I think they win. They're the team I parlayed, Pepperdine with Portland. So I've got a little late-night 2-team parlay here, Pepperdine and Portland, and turned it into a plus price at plus 160. On the money line for a Pepperdine and Portland money line parlay in these 2 games. And this is the game where I like the over a bit more than the last game. It's very high, 161.5, extremely high. But man, these Pepperdine games, a lot of them, most of them have been getting into the 170s, never mind the 160s. So I'll take my chances with over 161.5 here. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, both defenses are horrible. I mean, again, Pacific's a little better. I mean, but not much. It's shocking too. Pacific beat them both times. Pepperdine just kind of comes down and chucks it up. Even though they hit shots, they sometimes it just a bunch of misses, and it's not good. I think they're in it. I would go money line too. I don't want them to win by 3 when they haven't played this team well. They've already lost to them twice, even though I think they played a little bit better down the stretch. And yeah, I don't know what to make of Pacific. They just are erratic. They play a bunch of guys. I don't know. It's Pepperdine or nothing for me, but I don't want to lay 2.5.
All right, we go now next up to the Atlantic Sun. We're down to the best part of the Atlantic Sun tournament just about now. Semifinals tonight. So whoever wins tonight they're in the championship game, and they'll be one step away from the NCAA tournament. So this is big time here tonight. These 2 games, starting with Lipscomb and Kennesaw State. Semifinals in the A-Sun. We've got Kennesaw State, 4.5-point home favorites, 149 the total here. Lipscomb getting the victory over Stetson in their last game, and we'll see if they can keep the good vibes going here. I'll say this about the Lipscomb squad here down the stretch, heating up at the right time. Going back to the beginning of February, this team is 7-2 straight up. This is what I look for. Teams that are heating up, that have the chance maybe to just catch fire and maybe pull some upsets. I think this is a pretty close game. They split the season series earlier. Actually, they just played each other. Yeah, that was last year they played. But Lipscomb had actually won and covered 3 in a row before Kennesaw beat them this year. A lot of overs head-to-head with these 2 teams. Lipscomb's been trending over lately. Kennesaw was going over in a lot of their games. They've kind of went backwards, but I think I'm going to get back to the well here with over 149. And I'm going to take Lipscomb here, plus 4.5. I think they've got a real shot in this game to at least make this kind of a down-to-the-wire affair. I like Kennesaw a lot, but I think Lipscomb matchup-wise, and the way right now we've seen them down the stretch shoot the basketball, that's a dangerous offensive team at the moment. They've put it together here in these last handful of games. I think we've got a close game. I think the points are worth taking. Connor, what do you think?
Me too. That's what I was leaning to earlier today. And I like the over. It's moved, though. This is one that's moved 3 points. And just the other day, that Lipscomb Stetson game just got over. I think it was 150. It was 153. I think that game could be similar because when they get together, up and down, it gets over. So I look at the over. Kennesaw's home. That's one thing here. I just like the way Lipscomb's been playing. So I agree with you here. I take the 4.5.
All right, we have Eastern Kentucky, the Colonels, and Liberty, the Flames. Liberty, 13-point home favorites, 140 the total, and it is worth noting these are true home games. These two semifinals in the Atlantic Sun, so that's on Kennesaw State's home court against Lipscomb and Liberty's home court against Eastern Kentucky. I mean, have you looked at series history with these two teams? I mean, where's the evidence Liberty wins big over Eastern Kentucky? I mean, the last three meetings, Liberty won two of them, but they won by 7, they won by 10, and then the first meeting this year, Eastern Kentucky won by 3. So you're putting Liberty out there as a 13-point favorite to me against a team that has consistently been a tough out for the Liberty squad. Now, I get it. They covered and they beat the shit out of Bellarmine a couple days ago, 76-56, and they crushed Queens. They have been able to cover some of these numbers as double-digit favorites, but those were against other teams. Eastern Kentucky has consistently avoided being blown out by Liberty. They've been inside 10 points in all of these games. So I think the points are worth a look here on Eastern Kentucky, getting 12.5, 13 points in this game. And I like the way they're playing right now at this point of the season. Eastern Kentucky, those back-to-back wins against Jacksonville, the North Alabama is not bad. North Alabama beat Ole Miss in non-conference play, and Eastern Kentucky beat the hell out of North Alabama 73-48 the other night. So I think Eastern Kentucky and defensively they've turned it on. That's been what's been most impressive about Eastern Kentucky these last few games. So I like the points here with Eastern Kentucky. Do what you want with the total. I'm staying off this total. To me, Eastern Kentucky goes with over, but Liberty definitely does not go with over. If Liberty's going to win, they want this to slow down. Eastern Kentucky wants this to speed up. So it's a clash of styles. I don't always like betting totals in games like this, but I do like the Eastern Kentucky plus the point side in this one. Conor, what do you think?
Yeah, there's just something Eastern Kentucky, plays them tough. It just is what it is. And Eastern Kentucky, they do rebound it great, but so does Liberty, and they have the better defense. And their offense doesn't do much great. They don't shoot it that well. They get up down, but they're athletic, Eastern Kentucky, and that's given Liberty problems. The one thing is Liberty's at home because I think they win. They should their tournament here after last year. It is just a ton. I like Eastern Kentucky as well. I've been mulling over this all day. It's 12.5.
Yeah, I'm not mulling it. I'm betting.
I know you're not.
Set 12.5, 13 here with Eastern Kentucky. All right, quickly, because we're going to be tight for time, we decided we'd put the Patriot League all in one group here. So quickly on the Patriot League, we've got 4 quarterfinals: Loyola Maryland, Colgate, American Navy, Lafayette Lehigh, Boston Army. I'm on Loyola Maryland plus the points. As great as Colgate is, there's not many teams that were hotter down the stretch in this conference than Loyola Maryland. The Greyhounds are playing some really good ball. They're getting a healthy number here, 16. Colgate's fine with just winning this game by 8 or 10 or 12. They don't need to go out there and whip Loyola Maryland. I don't even know if they can because Loyola Maryland's playing better lately. So I like Loyola Maryland plus 16 and the over in that game against Colgate. American plus the points I think might be worth a look against Navy. I said I liked American against Bucknell the other night. They got although they pushed on the closing number -5, but I think they worth the points against Navy there. They're worth the look plus the points. And I like Lehigh and Army in a money line parlay. Another one where I think Lehigh wins. But I don't feel comfortable always laying points. Same thing with Army, but I don't feel comfortable laying points against Boston. So I've got Lehigh and Army in a money line parlay. Conor, what are your thoughts there on the 4 games in the Patriot League quarterfinals?
Colgate, just the better team, but 16. Shout out to our guy, Matty Ice. This is his taint play of the day, and I agree with him and you. I think it's too many points. The way Loyola's been playing, I take him. Nothing for Navy. American, I don't know. Lehigh Lafayette, I think it'd be close. And I like Boston. They just beat Army. I just think the points there are needed. I think the game's close. And I like Boston U. I think they could keep that close with Walter White.
There you go, like in Boston U to get the job done there. And there we go. Let's get an Army win by 1 or by 2, and we're all happy. There you go. That's what we're looking for. Because I got Army in the parlay money line with Lehigh in the other Patriot League quarterfinal.
I wasn't gung-ho because they just beat him. I don't know, 8 days ago. We always talk about how tough that is. They're come right back, but they play close games usually, back and forth.
All right, I didn't put this game on the rundown and in the first segment, but we'll bring it up now. Purdue, Wisconsin. It's just because I wanted to get all the conference tournament games. I have the reason I didn't put it on the list. I have zero opinion on that game. Purdue is just—they're not a team I'm ready to lay points with on the road at the moment. They're going through a little crisis right now, the Boilermakers. But I don't like Wisconsin. I have never had interest betting Wisconsin this year, and I still don't have interest tonight. So that was as easy a pass as there was on the board for me. Conor, did you have any lean or anything for Purdue, Wisconsin?
I'm on Wisconsin. Purdue's off the loss, and I get why maybe Purdue, and they're the better team. Wisconsin's playing better. They're healthy. I know at home they looked bad early on, but I think the game's close. This total's low. I mean, does this game stay under this number? If it does, I like Wisconsin even more catching the 4. I'm not going to mess with the total, but give me the 4 points here. I don't trust Purdue at all.
All right, there you go. Wisconsin is a home dog for Conor Mack here in this one. All right, Conor, games we have not talked about on the board that you like.
Ooh, there's just a couple. Oregon State taking the 5 here with them at home. Vanna, ugly. This is the one place they play better, and I think I might be on the under. It's come down a few. I didn't grab it, here at 133. It's down to 130. But I think that game is close there. We touched on Oakland. How about Mississippi Valley? Plus 5.5. I think they can do it there at home. Maybe they don't win, but I think they keep it close there. We talked about Robert Morris. I think that's it for me. Yeah, all right. I think that's it.
There we go. Now, see.
Manhattan. I took Manhattan. That's on my card.
Yeah,
plus
I like
7.
That.
Siena bounce back maybe. They've 3 straight losses. They can't score all of a sudden. Maybe even that under. I looked at that. And maybe they come out hot. But Manhattan, this rivalry between these two close games. And we always talk about Babano. We want the dogs in this conference. And I think Manhattan full 40 minutes. I want the 7.
Yeah, I think Manhattan won the first meeting in overtime against Siena, and Siena might be in for revenge. But Siena's form has declined, and it's a lot of points. And Siena's happy with just winning this game. I don't even know if they're capable of winning by this big, because I like the way Manhattan's played.
What's
lately.
Happened to him too?
Yeah,
Siena.
Yeah,
well,
McCollum, their big time guard, Javian McCollum's been in and out, but he can't just chalk it up to that. They just haven't played as well at either end of the floor. I think I'm with you there. Manhattan plus the points is the way I would look in that game. The others that I like. Let me see here. I like Cal Riverside here, +1 against Irvine. Riverside's been a nice little money maker for me.
Yeah.
Nice little small home dog there against Irvine. Irvine, is going to be a good challenge for them, one of the better teams in the Big West. But I think Riverside, with the way they're playing, they're up for the challenge. So +1 for me with them. Florida Atlantic Rice over. That was a pretty automatic that I'd be on that. I think we'll see a lot of points in that game, a lot of pace. FAU and Rice. The Battle of the Owls. Woo-hoo, woo-hoo, woo-hoo. Battle of the Owls there. Florida Atlantic Rice over. I think you're going to see it. A lot of points in that game. And pretty much everything else I bet was those conference tournaments. Yeah, there's really not much else, honestly. So, yeah, Manhattan plus the point. I almost took Marist. Because Marist has covered twice in a row at Iona the last 2 years. And it's the ultimate flat spot for Iona. They've wrapped up everything in this conference. Do they really got to go out there and beat Marist by 17? Can you just lay off come on, Patino. Come on, man. Just lay off the gas pedal tonight. I almost want to take Marist. I mean, they're getting a huge number, and I don't think Iona cares enough to beat the hell out of them, even though they've been playing really well lately. But that's it.
All right. Get it.
UCF Temple, we like the over, and I like Temple in that game.
Yeah, I'm in the over there. With that UCF Temple game. Great stuff. Best bets coming up. Hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube. We appreciate it. Best bets to wrap it up in just a moment, right after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101.
Southtown 101, when you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke, Southtown 101, and manscaped.com. Promo code PubSports, 20% off your purchase and free shipping with promo code PubSports. All right, best bets here to wrap it up. And we didn't touch on the added board because I'll be honest, I don't like a thing on the added board tonight. The only thing I came somewhat close to betting on the added board were the 2 overs in the Delaware State Eastern Shore game and the Norfolk State Howard game. And I don't love those because I've actually lost a couple overs with those teams lately. So I'm not involved in anything on the added board. The MEAC and the SWAC is what I'm talking about. Not involved in anything with those games. Same with you, Connor. Did you pass on the MEAC and the SWAC?
Yeah, just I haven't bet it, but Mississippi Valley State plus 5.5 that I was looking at.
Oh yeah, that would be one to
that
consider.
That was the lone one.
Yep. Yeah, it's just because they've been on that late season surge here, especially against the number, no doubt about that. All right, great stuff. Oh, Charlotte, I lean under on that game. Charlotte's an under team. It's kind of weird because Charlotte's an under team, but they're playing a team that will push the pace a little bit. So it's a clash of pace there, Charlotte and UTSA. That's real tough. I mean, and sidewise, it's tough too. I tell you what, the better defense is Charlotte, but they can't score straight. But UTSA doesn't stop anybody. So, that's what makes that game just a tough one all around. It could go over, could go under, could be Charlotte, could be UTSA. So I'm totally off that game. All right, best bets here, Connor Mack, for this Thursday. We'll start with you. What do you like?
Real quick, Georgia Southern, you're on that, right, Babano?
Yes.
Money line? Yeah, I like him. It's about laying the points.
Georgia Southern, Old Dominion, money line parlay in the.
I like Boston. Someone mentioned I'm on the over, Isaiah, in that UCF game, Temple we talked about. Okay, here's the rest. Michigan, Illinois under 144.5, Wisconsin plus 4, and Manhattan plus 7. Those 3. Boom.
There we go. Liking it there. Connor Mack with multiple best bets here for this Thursday card. Best bet for me here for the Thursday night slate. There's a lot of good options to choose from here. I am going to go to let me just see here. I'm going to go to a couple of sides. We'll do 2 sides here. Horizon League and Missouri Valley. We'll go with Oakland plus 7 against Northern Kentucky in the Horizon League as a best bet. And I'll throw out another best bet for you. Illinois Chicago plus 8.5 against Missouri State. Few too many points. I think Missouri State offensively in the 8.5, laying those points in a conference tournament with their offense, I don't trust it. So 2 sides here: Oakland plus 7 against Northern Kentucky, and Illinois Chicago plus 8.5 against Missouri State. There you go. 2 best bets for me on this Thursday card. All right, that'll wrap it up. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Of course, it's Cab joining Connor Mack tomorrow on the Friday edition of the Net Profit Show. And then the 3 of us will be with you on Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern, College Basketball Pub Hub. We'll do a weekend edition of the College Basketball Pub Hub as well. We'll see if Cab's available for that. We'll do a quick one, 1 hour, Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Pacific. The next 2 Sundays, since there's conference tournaments and then Selection Sunday, there'll be some early games. So we'll be extending the show a little bit as we get into the NCAA tournament. I don't know how we're going to do it next week because we've got day games next week, of course, in conference tournament action. But Jimmy's show is at 11 a.m., so we might let him
maybe
handle
Monday.
Those games. Yeah,
we got to see I don't know how many earlier on Monday we'll move it, and I don't know. I got to look at the schedule tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how many games.
We'll have to. That'll be like a last minute decision what we do with the show. We might just keep it at 5. Like it all, and we'll just go through what's left. We might just do that as well. So stay tuned for that. But either way, we will have shows, of course, all March long. Hit the like button on the way out. For Connor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow on Friday for another edition of the Net Profit College Basketball Show right here on Pub Sports Radio.
Peace. Hit the like.
Palooza 2 on the horizon. We're going to have live shows popping off in the Southtown 101. We're going to have a poker tournament, a par 3 golf tournament, UFC San Antonio on the Saturday night. A lot of excitement. Palooza 2, baby.